stop valuing truth, when they reward charisma over competence, they become easy to control. Because the best way to control a crowd is to give them a story they want to hear. And in democracy, those who craft the story win. But the people think they made the decision. They think they're in charge. They think the system reflects their will. That is the final illusion, the most seductive lie, the mass delusion. Because when a system feeds you only the options it approves, and you pick one, you feel free. But you were never free. You were just allowed to choose the packaging, and that's how democracy becomes its own disguise. Plato didn't call it evil, he called it unstable. Because a society built on feelings has no foundation. It sways with the wind. It follows the herd. It rewards those who manipulate the mood of the moment. And slowly, the line between leader and entertainer disappears. The man with vision is too complex, too slow, too uncomfortable. But the man with charm, he wins in seconds. That's not an accident. That's how democracy is designed. Because it gives you just enough choice to feel powerful, without ever letting you touch real power. And once you believe the show is real, once you think the illusion is truth, you'll defend the system that's keeping you asleep. You'll praise your cage. You'll protect your captors. You'll fight for the mask and forget the face. That's the danger Plato saw, not in tyranny, but in freedom that forgets itself. Because once the people believe their voice is truth and their feelings are law, they become ungovernable and easily governed. Mass delusion doesn't need to be forced. It just needs to be believed. And the more people believe in it, the stronger the illusion becomes. It would be easy to dismiss Plato's warning if it didn't describe our world perfectly. He warned that democracy, left unchecked, would become a theater of emotions where truth is irrelevant and power belongs to the most persuasive performer. Now look around. Look at our elections, our debates, our leaders. The one who speaks plainly gets ignored. The one who speaks honestly gets hated. And the one who says what feels good gets elected. We no longer vote for leaders. We vote for celebrities. We vote for packaging, not substance. We vote for confidence, not competence. We vote for symbols, not solutions. Because we've been trained to trust the show, not the soul behind it. That's not an accident. That's the result of decades of emotional engineering. Politics today is not about policies. It's about optics, narratives, feel-good slogans that sound deep but mean nothing. Build back better. Make it great again. Hope, change. Forward. Forward where? No one asks. Because we're not thinking, we're reacting. And Plato warned, a society that rewards emotion over reason will collapse into tyranny. Not because it wants to, but because it doesn't know how to stop it. Today, the tools of mass delusion are far more advanced. We don't just have orators, we have algorithms. We don't just have manipulators, we have machines that know what you fear before you do. They track your clicks, your pauses, your heart rate. They test headlines to see which lie you'll share fastest. They design speeches not to inform you, but to trigger you. You think you're deciding, you're not. You're being nudged, shaped, steered. You're not the citizen anymore. You're the data set, the product, the experiment. And the platforms that feed you this illusion, they know exactly what they're doing. Because when you're angry, you stay online longer. When you're scared, you share more. When you feel righteous, you stop thinking. So they give you leaders who don't lead, but perform. They cry on cue. They point fingers. They speak in sound bites. They build enemies to make you feel united. And all the while, the system runs untouched. Because it doesn't care who you vote for. It only cares that you keep playing the game, that you keep believing your vote still matters. Plato said, when flatterers become leaders and philosophers are mocked, democracy collapses into tyranny. Is that not today? The flatterers smile for cameras. The philosophers write books no one reads. The crowd cheers louder as the ship drifts further, and when it all falls apart, we'll ask, how did this happen? But deep down, we'll know, because Plato already told us. He told us that democracy doesn't die with violence. It dies with applause, with hashtags, with unity rallies led by liars. It dies when the people stop thinking and start following. It dies when truth becomes hate speech, when silence is labeled violence, when thinking for yourself is seen as dangerous. It dies when emotion becomes law and reason becomes treason. So if this still feels like democracy to you, ask yourself, can you still say what you really think? Can you still vote for someone who hasn't been pre-approved? Or are you just participating in a ritual meant to make you feel free while keeping you perfectly controlled? Because Plato was right, and we are living proof. By now you might be wondering, if democracy is a show, then who's writing the script? You were told you choose your leaders, that your voice matters, that your vote makes a difference. But let's be honest, do you really feel like the system changes no matter who's in charge? Do you feel more free or just more exhausted? Because what if the real game wasn't about who you vote for, but about how you're made to vote? Plato warned us, the people always choose the most charming liar, not the most capable, not the most honest, the one who flatters, the one who entertains, the one who mirrors your pain, then sells it back to you as hope. That's not leadership, that's manipulation. And the people, they think they're choosing freely, but they're only choosing between two illusions, two brands, two carefully engineered personalities, both approved by the same machine. So who controls that machine? Who decides which voices rise and which ones disappear? Who funds the campaigns? Who owns the networks? Who trains the algorithm that curates your digital world and filters what truths you're allowed to see? The answer isn't a single villain, it's a system. One built on two pillars, emotional control and informational control. First, emotional control. You don't need to be silenced if you can be stirred up. Anger is easier to manage than thinking. That's why outrage is free. It spreads faster, it sells better, it keeps you busy while the real decisions are made elsewhere. Second, informational control. You only see what the system wants you to see, not because it bans truth, but because it buries it. It floods you with noise, with clickbait, with drama, with 20 versions of the same empty idea. And somewhere in that flood, the truth drowns, quietly. That's not democracy, that's design. Because when your attention is hijacked, your choices aren't free. They're directed. You're not voting with knowledge. You're reacting with emotion. And the people behind that curtain, they don't care who wins the vote. They care that you believe you chose. That belief, that illusion of control, is what keeps the game going. Because if you ever stopped believing, you might start asking questions. You might start unplugging. You might stop playing. And that's what the system fears most. So instead, it keeps feeding you the lie that this year is different, that this candidate is real, that your side finally has the answers. Meanwhile, nothing changes. Nothing real gets fixed. But the illusion gets stronger. Because when you vote out of fear, you don't challenge the system, you reinforce it. When you vote based on slogans, you don't disrupt the game, you validate it. And every time you do, the machine gets smarter, more targeted, more persuasive. It learns how to guide you without force, without censorship, without chains. All it needs is for you to keep playing. So ask yourself, when was the last time you chose something not because it felt good, but because it was true? When was the last time a politician told you something that made you uncomfortable, and you voted for them anyway? When was the last time you felt that your vote was truly yours? Because maybe You never did. Maybe you